Alexis and Melinda's Arts. Got an art journal page today that I'm doing. Now I've sped this video up just 2 times, otherwise it would have been very short. So working in my altered wine book, using up another one of these black and white photos. So this one's got wine barrels down the bottom and circles up the top. I really like the circles up the top, which is like a long shot of the wine casks, but I didn't like the big wine cask down the bottom. So just showing you there, I took a small image and enlarged it on my photocopier and printed it out. This image, sort of cartoon image with spiky hair, was from a book that I took apart that had lots of, don't even know what the book was now, but I just love the image. I love things that are wacky and weird. I just have a weird brain that way. So I decided that I wanted to get rid of these barrels down the bottom, but I wanted to preserve the top part of the picture. So I'm just using some Audi gesso. Last year Audi, when they brought out their paints, they brought out some gesso, modelling paste, crackle medium and flow medium or something or other. And the gesso was $3 for this tub, which is really good value for what it is, and it's quite a good gesso. So just adding it with a palette knife, no particular reason. Sometimes I do it with a paintbrush, sometimes I do it with a palette knife. Probably the palette knife was on my desk and I couldn't be bothered getting up and getting a paintbrush. Time to be truthful. And I do like the texture that it gives a different texture putting it on with a palette knife than on with a paintbrush. So just, you can sort of see the barrel underneath, but I did want to start with a white background. All I knew was I was going to stick that picture on of those 4 funky people. I didn't really know what else I was going to do. Here I'm just scraping a bit of the gunk off the edge of the tub so I could put the lid back on, because it was a bit hard to get off that lid. I must get some Vaseline and put around the inside of my lid so they'll be easy to get off, but I just haven't got around to that yet. All in a good day sometime. So I'm just going to dry that gesso. Thing with mixed media is you want to dry your layers in between, otherwise you end up with a boggy mess, which you'll see in a minute. I'm not the most patient person when it comes to drying, so I often get the heat tool out and try to dry things as much as I can so I can move on. I need to learn more patience. And of course when I was drying it, the heat gun was trying to blow that piece of paper away. And I was just showing you that my hands have got gesso all over them. It's not a good art journal day until I've got gesso all over me. So I decided to pull out my gelatos, which are not used very often. I bought them, years ago. And there I have getting gesso all over my gelatos. So I do go back and re-dry the gesso. Obviously the top was dry, and I tend to put my hand on it and test, and obviously underneath was not dry. Lesson learned. Oh, there goes a big truck outside my house. That'd be right. Start to do a voiceover and a big truck comes. So just picking sort of some colours and just doing circles down the bottom and colouring in some of the circles up the top. Reason for the circles down the bottom, there were circles up the top. No particular reason. Gelatos are water reactive, so I do react. You can react them with water and they sort of turn into paint. They're like a waxy crayon to start with, almost like a lipstick. Gelatos are sort of the name brand. They're like a water-soluble crayon. There are oodles of different brands on the market now. You can get Twistables from Crayola. You can get some from Montmartre I saw the other day, which had awesome colours, but I really can't justify buying more when I've got a big pack of these ones, and I've got more gelatos somewhere too. And a few Tim Holtz make distress crayons, and there's quite a variety of the same thing. Basically it's a water-soluble waxy crayon. So just adding all the colours up in the top circles. And excuse my yawning, it's getting quite late at night. I'm trying to chug through these voiceovers today and get organised for the next 2 months. So instead of activating them with water, I decided I'm going to activate them with Mod Podge. This for 2 reasons. I want to activate them so you smooth out sort of the waxiness of them, and activating them with Mod Podge actually seals them. Gelatos are a water-soluble medium, so they will be water-soluble forever if I activated them with water. If I activate them with Mod Podge, that actually seals them and they no longer become water reactive. Does that make sense? So you can seal them with Mod Podge. You can seal them with like white school glue. matte gel medium, any sort of products like that. What it does is the water in the Mod Podge or the matte gel medium or the white school glue activates the crayon, so it becomes like paint. You can see the difference between that purple spot and the reddy one, and then the sort of the glue or the finish in it makes them permanent. So sort of killing two birds with one stone here. So I'm trying not to mix the colours, I'm trying to make the colours stay solid. So I'm working from lightest to darkest, so I'm leaving that big purple patch until last so I don't contaminate my other colours. And trying not to contaminate my jar of Mod Podge. I have done that before and I then had tinted Mod Podge, which was not a good look. So just washing my brush between colours and trying to keep my colours nice and clean. So drying that up before I stick my paper down, and that's just done on a laser printer. You can also do it on an inkjet printer. You've just got to watch with an inkjet printer because it's an ink, it will run, but my laser printer is awesome and I can use the images and they won't run. That purple was obviously not dry and was running, so I decided to put the matte Mod Podge on the back of my image. Usually I put a coat on the surface I'm putting it on and on my image, but this time I just put it on the back of the image. There was still some wet Mod Podge on the background of my page from activating the gelatos with the Mod Podge. So trying not to bring the colour onto the page because I wanted to leave those images in the black and white. So just trying to be quite careful with not getting colour on those particular images. For some reason I didn't like the purple behind her head. I don't think she stood out enough, so I do go and fix that in a minute. So just sealing this down, trying to get no wrinkles in it. I did a fairly good job to get it non-wrinkly. What you do is you put a fairly generous coat underneath and on the back, and then you could sort of start your brush in the middle of the picture and go out to all sides in a 360-degree circle, and it takes all the wrinkles out. Sometimes it's better than others, and sometimes some papers act better than others. So just giving this a nice big coat of Mod Podge just to seal everything up, because I was going to work on it more, but I didn't know what I was going to put on top. So again, I've got stuff all over my fingers. So I grabbed this fine liner. It's got thinned down black paint in it, come in a class kit quite a while ago, so I don't actually know what's in it. So I decided to draw around the edge of my people to make them sort of stand out from the page and give them a border. So I grabbed a bit of water. Because it's thinned down paint, I could activate the paint, and like you'd use a stippler oil pencil or a paint pen, sort of doing the same thing. So I love the border that I put around the images. It was a bit of a doozy to cut this one out with all the spiky hair, but we got there eventually. I didn't let you sit through that in the beginning. So when I do stick anything on top of my art journal pages, I do like to do a border or like a shadow around it. It just allows it to sort of blend in with the background but also stand out at the same time, if that makes sense. Being contradictory, saying it will blend in and stand out, but if you just stick an image straight on and don't sort of do a bit of a border around, you don't always have to do black, you could do other colours, it tends to sort of tie it into the page and doesn't look like it's just floating around in mid-space. And I do go and put the black just along the bottom, as I didn't put the image right to the bottom of my page. Then I decided to do a squiggly border. I like to border all my pages, and this one was just a very squiggly border. I love drawing with this really fine line bottle, and I have purchased some more to make up my own colours. Then I decided the circles up the top looked a bit bland, so I gave them each a bit of a squiggle, just because I could. This page didn't really have a reason, I just wanted to use up that background page and try and use up this journal. Sort of smudged between the sort of the front ground and then the background to push those circles right in the background. So here I come and fix up this purple bit because I just don't like it. So I grab my gesso out and just gesso over the top of that purple bit. I just found it was not letting her stand out as much, and once I fix it I really like it. So it's a great thing about mixed media is if you don't like something, gesso over it, start again, and then add some more colour. It's really easy to fix. So the gesso will give you a white background to start with again. Just make sure it's completely dry. I think it's time to stop doing voiceovers if I keep yawning. I do have a bottle of water around somewhere. I must have put it back in the fridge. I'll have to go get it. So just giving that gesso a good dry and making sure it's dry all the way through, not just on the top, because I don't want the same thing to happen when I grab out my gelatos and dig into the gesso. So I keep putting my hand in it, and if I get wet spots on my hand, I obviously keep drying, and I can sort of feel if it's squishy. You can sort of, the gesso will get a skin on the top, and then it'll be still squishy underneath. So I grab out my orange and yellow gelato and just wanting to tie the background in, or that white piece that I've just fixed in with the background. I'm so happy I did go and spend the time fixing this little bit. So I go and grab my matte Mod Podge again just to activate those gelato crayons and smudge it in so it didn't look like the scribbled on crayon, it looked more like the flat crayon. So I had fun doing this page. It was a nice quick page. It probably only took me about half an hour to do. Probably fussy cutting the image out was the most tedious bit, and enlarging it on my photocopier, trying to get it the same size. What I should have done is scanned it into my computer and resized it myself, but I was being lazy, so I didn't. Then I decided it needed a quote, and the quote I went with was, "Let your weird out often," just something I made up. If you know me a bit more personally than just watching my YouTube channels, you know I like weird and wonderful things, and like these images, the weirder the better some days. So these are just cheap stickers from the $2 shop. I think there's like 6 sheets in that pack, and they're white stickers. When sticking stickers over paint or over matte Mod Podge, you do need to use some liquid glue or matte Mod Podge to stick them down. They do slide around a little, so that is a bit tedious, but they will not stick on top of the matte Mod Podge. Eventually they will come off. So what I tend to do is put a layer of matte Mod Podge down, put the sticker on top, and then leave them probably a couple of minutes till it's sort of, the matte Mod Podge starts to go a bit tacky, and then I go over the top with them, because you'll see here a couple of my letters go sliding around. The matte Mod Podge goes on white, so you can certainly see where it is, and then it dries clear. And it sort of seals your work as well, which is nice. I love using letter stickers in my art journal. I'm not so much of a fan of my handwriting. I'm trying to do more handwriting in my art journal, and love my handwriting because that's me, but I do like letter stickers as well. The only problem with letter stickers is you tend to run out of the common stickers, and then you end up with just weird letters left, which I use in layouts, and I will use the waste piece of these stickers so nothing goes astray. So as you're peeling off the sticker, you usually have a sheet when you're left, a sheet with the letter stickers like as holes, if that makes any sense. So you get like the positive and negative effects. So you can cut up that and use it as texture in your background. I've done that before as well. So nothing goes to waste when you're using art journaling. You can use just about everything. Great thing about art journaling is there's no right and wrong way to do things. If 5 people sat down with the same supplies, they would make totally different layouts or totally different pages, and that's okay because everyone does it for a different reason. This was just a fun page. I do a lot of challenges like missions and pick a sticks and inspiration. Sometimes I do some take 5 challenges as well, and this one was just something I made up. I just decided that I wanted to fill in this page in my art journal. Nearly filled up this part of my art journal. I've got a few pages left in my altered book that sprang into 2 books. And I deliberately left these black and white pictures in to incorporate into my journal It took me a while, and almost 3 years into this book, because there was a lot of pages in the book, because I just take on huge projects. I will pick the biggest, thickest book and the largest book to work in as an art journal, because I just don't do things by small things. Small things scare me. Give me an ATC or a postcard and I will freak out on you. Give me a large art journal page or a massive canvas and I'm as happy as pig in mud. Anyone else like that? Or are you the opposite? Do you freak out at big stuff and like small stuff? So just adding the word in often. Let your weird out. I was going to leave it at that, and then I decided to add the word often. Even though it was on the white, sort of the yellow and the orange background, it doesn't stand out quite much at the moment, but I do something. I make it stand out at the end. I can't talk today. It's about the 5th voiceover. I've 6 voiceover I think I've done in today. Just chowing through them between doing other things. And I'm getting quite tongue-tied, so I think it is time to say goodbye to voiceovers. Plus it is, does that say 11 o'clock? That can't say 11 o'clock on the clock. Okay, it says 10:54, which is not quite 11 o'clock, so it's not that bad. I think I need to stop doing voiceovers and go to bed. So just drying the matte Mod Podge off completely before I get a pen and do some outlining. And excuse my big head. For my new subbies, I do have what they call low vision, so sometimes I do have to get quite close to my work to see what I'm doing, especially when it's a white colour on yellow or a tone on tone colour. I have trouble with that. A few close-ups for you at the end, so if you want to like, subscribe, leave me a comment, that would be great. Till next time, see you then, bye.